Today, we're making the real deal, and not the cheap stuff that they use for couches. This is proper bike seat foam. Welcome back to the workshop. Today, we're busy with a CRF 110F tall seat, but the same method that I'm using today can be used on any shape seat, any size seat. All the changes is the mold and the quantity of polyurethane foam that you're going to be using. And in this video, I'm not delving into the actual mold making itself. I've made my mold out of fiberglass. It's actually a two-part mold. You'll see the other part just now. But there aren't any videos on actual foam seat making, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. Let's quickly go over all the tools and materials that I'm going to be using today. So first things first, we need a mold. Just like I said before, this is what my mold looks like when it's sealed up. We're going to need a flexible polyurethane foam. That's what I got here. This is a 2-to-1 ratio that it gets mixed in, along with a wax release agent that's specific to this foam as well. I have got a brush on hand so that I can paint the release agent into the mold. As far as mixing goes, you're going to need a large plastic cup, something that can fit all your materials in. You definitely want that to be a decent size so that you've got some mixing room, and you're going to want a mixer on the end of a drill. Don't forget to keep your acetone handy, because this is what I use to clean everything, and if you make a spill, you can wipe it up really quickly with that. And the last thing, just a little bit of safety, some gloves, a respirator. You don't want to be breathing this in, and I'm outside in a ventilated area. So what are we waiting for? Let's get this material into this mold. Now before we mix any flexible polyurethane, we need to make sure that the mold is ready. I'm applying an even wet coat of wax release agent to coat both surfaces of the mold and letting it dry. To make this mold, I made a replica of the seat shape that I wanted out of polystyrene. This is called a buck. Then I made my mold from woven fiberglass on that buck. Once the release agent is dry, it will go from shiny to matte, and here you can see some wet and dry spots. Next, I just roll up some Play-Doh to make a seal for my mold. This method was okay, but later in the video, you'll see a better method that I've used, so don't even worry about it. Now that I have a nice juicy seal, it's time to use my 2 locating bolts that position the lid correctly so that everything lines up. Then it's just a matter of grabbing every clamp in the workshop and getting it on the mold. Now, the mold is ready, let's mix some foam. This flexible foam I'm using is from a company called Smooth-On. It's not cheap, but it works well. While I'm mixing up this batch, I've put a video on the left of what happens when you take too long to fill the mold. And yes, this will give you just a little bit of anxiety, which is why I'm emptying the first 2 bottles first, so that when it comes to adding the second part, it's quick to pour and it's quick to mix. This foam has a working time of only 60 seconds, including your mixing time. This means that once the chemicals start to mix, you need to move quick. I mix for about 15 seconds and I watch for a consistent color in the foam. Once it's consistent, it's time for some pouring. And learning from my mistakes, I won't use a funnel again. I made the hole in the top of the mold much bigger so that I can pour the liquid straight in. Remember to clean all your tools and spills now while everything's liquid. Then it's just a matter of moving the mold around and making sure that I'm filling all the corners. Before you know it, the foam's expanding at a fast rate. And if you fill the mold, it'll be hot. This is a result of an exothermic reaction. "45 minutes later." Durability is great with this foam. Even cutting it with a blade takes some effort. But I do prefer to do this in the mold, while the mold can hold the seat straight and everything's a little bit easier. Okay, let's get this bad boy cracked open and have a look at the result. Alrighty. yeah, it went a little pear-shaped for the day. The seat wasn't fully ready to remove, and baby, it's home time. All right, fast forward 2 days. In my excitement, I realized I didn't get enough footage of taking the seat foam out of the mold, so I went ahead, I poured another one for you guys. I just used a slightly different technique. Instead of Play-Doh, I used tape to seal up the sides of the mold. Hopefully that works really well. I think it will. It should make just trimming the whole edge of the mold a little bit easier, rather than trying to pull the bits of the Play-Doh out. But let's get some up close footage here of removing it from the mold. Unfortunately, it didn't fill the mold all the way, but that's not too much of an issue because we can always put it back in the mold and just add a little bit more foam in there. It'll expand out and it just attaches to the foam that's currently there. All right, let's see how this came out. Just gotta find a spot that you can pull that from. Okay, there you can see what I'm talking about, the patch that didn't make it. Then, after a quick trim with the scissors, the part just needs to sit for about 24 hours just to do a final curing, and then it's ready for upholstery. But this is the result you can get with a fairly basic mold and a little bit of time. Well, there you have it. No more putting couch foam on any of your bike projects when you can pull out a bike seat just like this. This just needs a little bit of a trim. I will pop it back in the mold and add just a little bit more foam there, but that's exactly how it's done. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're wondering why we modify these little machines behind me, well, that's because we race pit bikes. I know you guys are going to want to watch that video, so have a little look over here. And if you want to know the top speed of a Honda CRF 110F, that's this video over here. Thanks for the support, guys.